from the book, and it was told of a certain potter. Chapter 5, The Woman That Was Poor, a lesson in the abundance of God. Maza was a widow who lived in a dirty little hut in the crowded quarters of Jerusalem. Each day she went into the temple and cleaned the great courts. But Maza was very poor, and as she passed the coffers and saw her neighbors place certain sums therein, she felt even more poor than ever. She had not even the widow's mite to give, neither could she spare a crust of bread to anyone. And further, she was unhappy because she had no friends. She had heard much of the potter Abdullah, and how he had helped various ones from in under their burdens, and one night she determined to pay him a visit. So, after she had finished her work at the temple and partaken of her meager meal, she turned her steps towards the dwelling of Abdullah. It was a wonderful night with a sky that seemed to wholly envelope the world like a healing blue vapor. The moon had not yet arisen, and the stars were very bright and throbbed with light. But Maza saw none of the beauty. Her eyes cast down, she struggled along, wondering why this was her lot. So poor was she in spirit that she could not even lift her eyes to the heavens and feast her hungry soul on the beauty so lavishly given. And at last, after her long walk, she came to the hut of Abdullah and found him seated in the court, the boy Jethro playing on his harp. Abd, she called with a note of distress in her voice. I am burdened with poverty. Wilt tell me of riches? Abdullah arose and motioned Jethro to bring a small rug for her, on which he bade her be seated. They sat in silence for a while, and then Abdullah began. There is no man in all Judea, be he ever so rich, and if he possess a palace of white marble, and slaves, and gold, and silver in abundance, who has among his treasures a picture as magnificent as you have stretched before you at this particular moment, Maza. As he said this, he pointed to the eastern skies, where a blood-red moon was breaking through a rift in the long silver clouds. There was a telling silence as they all gazed in the direction he pointed. First, then Maza, always feast the soul, and this you can do as often as you will in the day or night, for the heavens cover all, and it is the great canvas of God. Each day is a rare masterpiece, painted and designed for you. Then you are not poor because of the lack of beauty, for the whole world is streaming over with it. Go out into the sunshine, Maza, and lift your hands to high heavens, and let your soul soak full of the blessed sunshine and blue sky. Let the oil of joy, the sheer joy of living stream about you, and forget the material counterfeit of gold in your appreciation of the real gold of the sun. Let the sunlight of strength and trust in God dry up the stagnant morasses of worry and care. Pour some of the dew of life eternal onto your blasted hopes and see them blossom forth into greater and nobler promises than before. Let the star dust light your way instead of the dust of material ways cut off your vision of the stars. Maza stirred a little. Already she felt an uplifted thought a-stirring within, and Ab went on. There was once a certain woman who was very poor in thought, and, in a state of desperation, she cried out for help. And the one who heard her cry was a man who understood the power of right thinking. He understood where the true source of supply was, and he understood that God is mindful of his own, and that not a sparrow falleth without his knowledge. And he also understood how much greater are ye than many sparrows. So he asked the woman, What have you in your house? Mind, And the woman pondered a moment and said, "Only a cruse of oil." Now the man who understood knew the value of a cruse of oil, joy, and how a drop of it had saved many an axle from wearing away. So he said to her, "Borrow benchmare vessels, not a few." So she borrowed vessels, made her thought receptive. Then the man started filling the vessels out of the cruse of oil, and presently they were all filled, and still the cruse source was not empty. For joy increaseth every time it is left to run loose, and a smile an inch long may stretch miles, yea, it may even encircle the globe. But this was not all to be done now. The activity was begun. It was necessary to continue to keep the joy moving. So he said to her, "Go sell the oil." Action is the law of progress. It is necessary to give out joy and happiness, and not stand with our vessels full meekly waiting for someone to come to us. Enter some darkened pathway where there is need of joy, and scatter some light of good clean thinking as you go, and people will find that you are not only useful, but an absolute necessity. There is the biggest market in the world for joy, and the fewest dealers in it of any known commodity. So this woman went her way, and as she went, she found a ready market for her oil. In the smiling mind there is no room for worry clouds. There is no accumulated, stale thinking or care, for the smiling attitude keeps them at arm's length. Yea, it even puts them to flight. This smile is not the silly, simpering facial grin, but a strong, clean, healthy, mental attitude that refuses to be downed by obstacles. And it also happened that certain fishermen had labored all night, worked in ignorance, without success, and they were heavy-hearted and discouraged, when the voice of truth spoke to them and admonished them to cast their nets on the right side. Now, literally to cast their nets on the right side would be casting them in the same waters that they had fished in all night, but they knew that to cast their nets on the right side was merely a command to change their thought from one of limitation to abundance, to know that God is good, and that he knoweth that ye have need of these things. For is it not he that prepareth a table before me in the presence of mine enemies, in the presence of want, woe, and famine? What wonder then when they cast their thought into the inexhaustible source of supply, that their nets were full? Maza, supply is a law of God. He it is who created you, and he is responsible for you. Has he not oft referred to you in the sacred scrolls as his child? Are not his promises kept? Did he not say, "Seek, and ye shall find. Ask, and ye shall receive"? Is he that created you not able to sustain you, and that abundantly too? Did he not say of man that he was created in the image and likeness? You are his idea, perfect and eternal, and will he not keep you? Can the reflection manifest any condition that the reflector does not? And are you not a reflection of his love? It is good to know that you are living and moving and having your being in God. And if you are living in this great, inexhaustible source of all good, can you want for anything? Rather, I say unto you, reach out and take possession of your divine heritage. Open the doors of your thought, so the streams of love can flow in and out of it. And rising, Abdullah continued, Maza, what have you in your house? And she answered him, gratitude and love. And he said, go back to thy dwelling in peace, and remember that love let loose is like bread cast upon the water will return and nourish you when most needed. And Maza went her way, a song of thanks in her heart, and her soul full of the beauty of the night. End of chapter. Thank you